Okay, so first thing we're going to review is changing it to a reduced fraction. So the key thing is when I am dealing with percents, percents are always over 100. So if I am trying to write this as a reduced fraction, I start by taking my percent, so 12, and I'm going to put that over 100. Now, notice it says reduced fraction. So if you do this, I might give you some credit, but the answer has to be reduced for it to be correct. So what will go into 12 and 100? 2. 2 will go into 12 6 times. So I'm dividing by 2. 2 will go into 100 50 times. Okay, will anything go into 6 and 50?
No.
2. 2 will go into 6 3 times. 2 will go into 50 25 times. Now, if you'd have noticed that like 4 would go into both of these, you could have divided one time and just divided by 4. But each time you do it, you need to ask yourself the question, will anything else go in? Will anything else go in? So nothing else will go in, so we are done with this one. Let's look at our next one. It says write 125% as a reduced fraction. So you start by putting them over 100. So I do 125 over 100. Okay, then I have to look and say, will anything go into 125 and 100? Okay, 5 will go into it. Okay, if I do 125 and I do 5 into that, 5 will go into 12. 2 times 5 is 10. And then I get 2, bring down my 5. I'm sorry, I'm doing this over here to the side. Then I bring that down. 5 will go into 25 5 times. So that's going to be 25 on the bottom. I'm sorry, on the top. I divided by 5. Sorry, I wrote it wrong. Divide by 5 and I get 25. Divide by 5 down here and you're going to get 20. Okay, now will anything go into 25 and 20? 5. 5 will go into 25 5 times. 5 will go into 20 4 times. So you get 5 over 4 as your answer. So on these, when it tells me to write it as a fraction, what are you going to do? You're going to put it over 100. Okay, the next one says change your percent to a decimal. So if I have a percent and I'm changing it to the decimal, the biggest question I need to ask myself is, am I moving to the left or am I moving to the right? Okay, whenever I'm changing a percent to a decimal, I am changing it, moving it to the left. So if you see the percent sign on the number, you're moving to the left. If you're changing to a percent, you're moving to the right. So if your answer is supposed to be a percent, you're moving to the right. If you start with a percent, you're moving to the left. So in this one, I start with a percent, 2%. So I'm going to move this 2 to the left. So I'm going to go start here, 1, 2, which means I have to add a 0 in here. One thing I haven't told y'all is if you do your study guide with me, I add 5 points to your test. That means you got to have the work and everything. This is the study guide for your test. So this gives me 0.02. Okay, on the next one, it says write 126% as a decimal. Same type of problem. I start with 126%. My decimal is right here, so I'm going to go back 1, 2. So my new decimal is going to be back right there. So this would be 1.26. So for these problems, you're moving 2 to the left. I wish my screen was a little bit bigger. 2 to the left. Okay, well, actually, also this one. I forgot that one too. Okay, so on this last one that's like this, I have 15.5%. So the first thing is I need to figure out what is 1/2 as a decimal, Dakota. 0.5. So if I write this, this is 15.5%. And I'm going to give y'all one tomorrow that's going to be one that you would know, like a half or a fourth. What's a fourth? 0.25. Okay. So I'm going to go back 2 spaces. 1, 2. So this would be 0.155 when I change it to the decimal. You know, then back 2 spaces, 0.155. Okay, and number 6, I want to change it to a percent. So when my final answer is a percent, that means I'm moving 2 to the right. So I'm going to start with 8.54. And I'm going to move 1, 2, which is going to be 854%. When we're changing it to a percent, we go 2 to the right. Okay, on this last one, I have 0.59. I'm going to move it 1, 2, which is going to give me 59% for my final answer. On this one, I have changed 3/4 to a percent, which means that in the end, I'm going to have to move 2 to the right. But to start with, I have to change 3/4 to a decimal. We should know what 3/4 is. What is 3/4? 0.75. So I'm going to start with 0.75. And then I'm going to go 1, 2, which is going to make that 75%. Okay, now, next section, we've got a couple of different types that we're going to cover on this. So the first one, it says 15% of 200. So all of these are, the first 2 here are the ones that you're going to multiply. But before you multiply, I can't do percentages times numbers. So I've got to change my percent to a decimal on this. Okay, because I can't multiply percents times my numbers. So how do I change 15% to a decimal? Move it twice to the left. Okay, remember, if I'm changing it to a percent, I go to the right. If I'm changing it from a percent, I move it to the left. So I'm starting with a percent, which means I got to go 2 to the left. So I'm going to start with 15%, and I'm going to go 1, 2, which means that that's going to be 0.15. Now, 200 times 0.15. Okay, I've got 2 zeros. I'll write those down. Now I'm going to do 5 times 2 is 10. Then I've got my 2 zeros and a new 0. And then 1 times 2 is 2. Then I'm going to add it together. And my answer has 2 decimal places, so it'll be 20. That's not right. Where did I move it? 1 times 5 is 10. 1 times 2. Oh, 1 plus 2 is 3. There it is. I see it. Okay, so it's 30. I didn't add right. 1 plus 2 is 3. Like, that's kindergarten math that I messed up right there. 1 plus 2 is 3. I don't know how I put 2 there, but it's 3. Okay, on my next one, I've got 30% of 225. So first, I'm going to change this 1 2 decimal places, so that's 0.3. Then I'm going to do 225 times 0.3. 3 times 5 is 15. Carry my 1. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 more is 7. 3 times 2 is 6. And then I have 1 decimal place, so I put that right there. So I get 67.5. Okay, so these are the ones that you're going to multiply to solve. Now, let's look at number 11. In number 11, we're going to start doing some division stuff. So it says 9 is what percent of 25? So I'm going to take 9 and divide it by 25. So the 25 is going to go on the outside. Let's see if I can get some space here. And the 9 is going to go on the inside. Okay, add a decimal, add a 0. Okay, 25 goes into 90 3 times. 3 times 25 is 75. Subtract. So I get 15. Bring down my 0. 25 goes into 150, where we're talking about quarters. How many quarters are $1.50?
4, 5, 6.
6. So I do 6 here, and I get 150 when I subtract. So you get 0.36. Now, the question asked me, so that's what this is when I divide it. The question asked me, though, what percent? So how do I change this decimal to a percent? You move it twice to the right. So we're going to go 1, 2 to the right, and that's going to give me 36%. In number 12, it says 112 is what percent of 40? So we're going to be dividing in this problem. So you're going to take the 112 and divide it by 40. So the 40 goes on the outside because I'm dividing by that number. So my 40 goes on the outside. I'm going to have to get a sheet of paper. Let's try like this. So my 40 goes on the outside, and my 112 goes on the inside. Okay, 40 doesn't go into 1, it doesn't go into 11, but it does go into 112. How many times would 40 go into 112? Twice. 2 times 40 is 80. Okay, and then I'm going to subtract. 2 minus 0 is 2. And 11 minus 8 is 3. So 32. Now, add a decimal, add a 0. Now, 40 goes into 320 how many times? How many times will 4 go into 32? 8. So 8 times 40 is going to give me 320. Subtract, and I get 0. So I get, when I divide this out, I'm going to get 2.8. Now, how do I change that to a percent? Move my decimal twice to the right, which makes it 280%. So anytime I want to add a percent to it, I'm moving it to the right. Anytime I'm removing my percent, I'm moving it to the left. Okay, on my next one, it says 12 is 30% of what number? So I can't divide numbers by percentages. So the first thing that I have to do is change that percent to a decimal. How do I do that? Move it 2 to the left. When I'm getting rid of my percent, I move to the left. When I'm adding a percent, I move to the right. So I'm going to go 1, 2. So this becomes 0.30. Now I'm going to divide. I'm taking this and dividing it by that. So I'm going to do 0.3 on the outside. You don't have to have the 0, so I'm not going to put it there. And I'm going to put the 12 on the inside. Back to our rules. We got to move my decimal 1, move my decimal 1, so I'm adding a 0 there. Now, 3 goes into 12 4 times, 3 goes into 0 0 times, so you'll get 40. Any questions on that one? Last problem. 70 is 25% of what number? How do I change a percent to a decimal first? Move it twice to the left, which gives me 0.25. So I'm dividing by this, so I put 0.25 on the outside. 70 goes on the inside. We have to move it 1, 2, so I'm adding 2 zeros. Okay, 25 goes into 70 2 times. 2 times 25 is 50. Subtract, and I get 20. Bring down another 0. 25 goes into 200 8 times. 8 times 25 is 200. Got another 0. 25 goes into 0 0 times. So you get 280. There we go. Say hey. Everybody can see.